General networking, network fundamentals, port forwarding. You will find thousands of questions on the internet. Oh, I have a router, I want to access my IP camera. I have a laptop, I want to manage it remotely. How can I do that? How can I forward a port or whatever you call it? How can I do that? Well, first of all, the idea behind port forwarding is very simple. In a small office, home office network, it means that you want to access something that is inside of your network from the outside world. Your router is a firewall. It has a firewall, it has NAT enabled, network address translation. Long story short, it will not allow anyone from the internet to access your home PC, your IP camera, your NAS server, your email server, whatever you have in your network will be protected. That's the idea. That's why we have a router, we have a firewall, we have NAT, we have all these solutions to make sure that nobody can see your screen when you go to Facebook. That's great. In many cases, you want to access something that is inside of your network from the outside world. That's what port forwarding is all about. In a small office, home office network, when we talk about Linksys, D-Link, Netgear, and so on routers, it is one option. In the background, it's going to do two things. It's going to change your firewall and your NATs. I like to mention that because if you go to a more advanced option, you will never ever find an option port forwarding. It does not exist. You will not find it on a Cisco firewall, you will not find it on a Zyxel firewall, you will not find it on, I don't know, a FortiGate firewall. You have to create two rules to make it happen on these devices. Because this is a small office, home office device, it is combined in one feature that is port forwarding. Remember about that. If you go to a more advanced device, you will have to do two things. You will have to create a NAT rule, network address translation. It means it is a solution that allows to hide your IP addresses, private IP addresses, behind a public IP address, and you will have to open your firewall. Port forwarding, as you can see here in the picture, it will allow us to connect to a device that is behind our router remotely. Why would you do that? I have given a few examples already. You can access your IP camera, you can access your PC remotely, you can access your laptop or printer, whatever you want, if you open a port. Please remember that if you want to do that, you have to use a protocol that is as secure as possible. You should avoid using HTTP, which is clear text, Telnet, which is clear text. Go for HTTPS, go for VPN, go for SSH if you want to enable all these protocols. Go for a secure connection if possible. You all go, okay, that's a lot on the screen. Can you give me a simple example, please, because I still don't get it? Sure, let's do it then. My Linksys router, just to remind you, it's like that. Here, the one port is connected to the ISP. Cloud, that's the internet, and then you are here. That's the internet. Then you have a laptop, which is 192.168.1.100. By the way, you should assign a static IP address to your devices. Do not use DHCP for them. DHCP means dynamic. If this IP address changes, then you will not be able to connect. Go and assign a static IP address to your Windows PC to your IP camera and so on. Do not leave it with DHCP. I'll show that to you in a moment. In my case, the Linksys router, this one, the public IP address, well, it's not really public, but we assume it is. When I go to status, I should see my public IP address. It's this one. Well, it's not really public, but we'll assume it is. It's 172.16.1.28. That is something that I would type here, and it would go to my router. Yep. Why? Okay, it's not public. What do you mean? Well, because I am connected to my router, and this router is connected to the internet. If that was an edge router, it would get a real public IP address. It doesn't change anything here. Then I have a laptop, which is 192.168.1.100. As I said, it would be a good idea to give it a static IP address. Let's do it then. 192.168.1. Let's use .2. This router is 192.168.1.1, yeah? Let's use .2. Make sure you go for an IP address that is not in your DHCP scope. What do we mean by that? Is when you go to setup, you will see your DHCP scope here. We start with number 100. Make sure you do not assign a static IP address 101. Go for something that is not in the scope, yeah? Let's go for network connections. Properties. As you can see, now it's set up to get an IP address automatically. We want to give it 192.168.1.2. 192.168.1.1, that's Linksys. DNS, let's use Google. 8888 is a Google DNS server. Okay, close. Let's check that we can ping the internet. We have not broken anything. Yes, we can. That's absolutely fine. Going back to our topology, 192.168.1.2 is our laptop. Public IP address in a way is 172.16.1.28. That's what we are going to type in a browser, or I'm going to open it for RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. That is a built-in feature in Microsoft Windows that will allow me to manage my laptop remotely. RDP is okay. It's not the most secure way to connect to your network, to your device. If possible, you should use VPNs. RDP is not bad. However, it's not the most secure protocol that you can use, and home versions of Windows will not allow you to RDP. What do you mean RDP? It means I can manage my laptop or my PC remotely. That's what I use here. That is Remote Desktop Connection. Yeah, I use RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. It uses port 3389. Okay? What I have to do now on this router, I have to tell this router, I have to educate that, I have to train him and tell this router, dear router, if someone asks for, let me change the font, if someone asks for 172.16.1.28 on port 3389, that is a unique port for RDP. If someone asks for it, can you be so nice and send it to 192.168.1.2? Forward it. Port forwarding. Forward it. On port 3389 as well. Don't change this port. Why? Because this PC will listen for RDP connections on port 3389 as well. Does that make sense? Let's try it then. It's always a good idea to test it first. Let me open RDP. I'm over here. when I type 172.16.1.28, I should not be able to connect. Why? Because there is no port forwarding done. This device is saying, well, sorry, I will not allow you to go through. Nobody asked me to do that. Go away. Let's do it then. On this router, you go to Applications and Gaming, and here you say Application. It is just a name, RDP2, port 3389, 3389. What is the destination address? .2. Do you want to enable it? Yes, I want. Okay. Make sure you save your settings. Continue. What about now? Okay. That's a good sign. Let me close this window. And I use user and my password. And I am able to connect to this laptop using RDP from the outside world. Take a look, it's the same screen, yeah, because it's the same laptop. Again, I was here. I asked my router 3389, can you be so nice and forward this request to 192.168.1.2? And 192.168.1.2 is this laptop. Make sure again that you use a static IP address, and if possible, use a secure connection, HTTPS, SSH, VPNs. RDP is not bad. You will read a lot of things on the internet, and people advise do not use that directly, and I agree with it. If you don't have a choice, well, it's not as bad as HTTP or Telnet. It's not clear text, it is encrypted. If you use a long password, it's not going to be that bad. However, it is a well-known port. You can always try and change that. It's not a big security solution. It's not, oh yeah, that will secure my network. What you can do, you can say that every time it arrives on port, not this one, but you will change this port, and you will say it arrives on port 3388 or something higher than that, just to make it unique, 8888. Send it to 3389. That will make it a little more secure, because people expect RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, to be on port 3389. It's not a big deal. You can scan the ports that are open and find it out in 3 seconds. Still, a small thing that you can achieve using port forwarding and another port. I'll show you our favorite ASUS AC66U. I think in here I found it under 1 and virtual server port forwarding. Here we go. Service name, port range, and your local PC. Local port. That's it. On D-Link, you go to advanced and there is a virtual server. You say name, whatever name, RDP. Here, it's your local address, 192.168.1.2. I think you don't need that one. Here, 3389, 3389. This is TCP. I think on this one, yeah, both, that should be TCP. Do not open it for both TCP and UDP if you don't need that. It's not a big issue because there's nothing listening maybe on port UDP 3389. Still, go and be more specific. The same, for instance, HTTPS 443, open it for TCP only. Okay. On ASUS, on D-Link, it's If you're not sure, you can always Google that and you will find a lot of examples on the internet. It is especially popular for things like IP cameras and NAS servers. A lot of people use dynamic DNS. We'll talk about it later on as well. In this video, we talked about port forwarding. I showed you how to open a port on your router to access your laptop using RDP, HTTPS, HTTP, Telnet, whatever protocol you need. Thank you very much.